Hey guys, thank you so much for checking this video out. I'll be using this video as a way to introduce my newest book, The Chord Matrix, but I want you to know that even if you aren't interested in picking up a copy, I've designed this video so it will still be a worthwhile watch if you're just looking for a clear system for composing. I'll be explaining how you can approach writing music from a chord progression first method to create fully fleshed out progressions and productions. Let's start with creating a chord progression from scratch. Choose from the scale options based on the mood that you want. You can see here that I've included major scales, natural minor, harmonic minor, and melodic minor ascending. I think I'll choose major, and my root will be C. C major becomes the first chord in my sequence. But at the top of the page, you can see I have 5 different ways to voice the chord. This is useful for exploring slight changes in the characteristic of the chord, but is also extremely useful for creating smooth voice leading. You can see in all of these voicing diagrams that there's a little square indicator. This is the optional 7th degree of the chord that you can choose to use if you want a warmer vibe that some people describe as being more jazzy. I'll show you the included MIDI bank soon, but first, let's choose our next chord. As you can see here, the bottom half of the page offers 11 options for where to go next. The little diagrams make it convenient to preview each chord before committing and turning to the chosen option page. Or, if you're using the digital version, just clicking or pressing on the option will bring you straight to the options page, turning it into the current chord. The descriptions of all of the options describe the feeling of the movement between the current chord and the destination chord, and sometimes provide little hints of where you can go next. The tension ranking system shown here uses several variables to rank the movement from the current chord to the destination chord on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the most tension. The mood ranking system also uses several variables to determine a mood, chosen from 10 feelings. I break down how these ranking systems are calculated in a lot of detail in the beginning chapter of the book if you're curious. So the description, tension, and mood indicators should give you a good idea of how your next options feel, ultimately giving you a little more control over the emotional contour of your progression. The 10 options are broken into 2 main categories: diatonic movements, which are movements between chords that live within your chosen scale, and the bottom portion offers expanded harmony options that get a little more creative by borrowing chords from other scales, which result in a complete pathway detour, secondary dominance, which can also modulate you to another vibe and scale, and suggestions for more complex versions of diatonic chords. For both the diatonic chord options and the expanded harmony options, I've tried my best to organize them in order of popularity or function. This means that if you choose the chords near the top of each of the lists, you're likely to get a familiar or smooth chord progression. At the bottom, the Stay and Modify option reminds you that you don't have to change the chord you're on. You can actually just modify the voicing to hang on to a feeling for longer. Or, if you want to take a big complex leap, you can use the Explore Alternatives by Root option. I'll talk about this one a little later. Okay, now that we have a short chord progression written, I'll demonstrate how you can begin fleshing out the idea by arranging the notes through a few selected instruments. Here I'm constructing a bass line. The key here is to only select the notes that are pre-existing in the chord progression you've just created. If you add or remove any of the notes, then you are adjusting your initial harmonic blueprint and you'll end up with a different feeling than originally determined. Of course, if you feel inspired, I encourage you to follow your heart, but for this demo, I will only select the notes that are within my chord progression. Note that as you're adding the notes for each of your selected instruments, you can move the note up or down an octave as long as it's the same note used in your progression. Also, the notes used for the bass instruments should usually be brought down to a lower octave. Generally, you should move the notes up and down octaves to find that sweet spot for the instrument you're programming. Now I'm duplicating the progression to add some pulsing pads. And I'll move the whole chord progression down to a track that I currently have an arpeggiated instrument set up. Now that I have a progression and basic arrangement created, I'd like to add some extra complexity by swapping out a couple of the chords to something a little more surprising. For the A minor chord, I'm going to just turn the page to find the parallel major version of the A minor chord I currently have. The pages in the book are organized first by root blocks, such as all of the C chords, and the pages alternate between their parallel versions. This provides an opportunity to easily flip the mood just by turning a page. Additionally, all of the root blocks are organized based on the circle of fifths. Practically, this means that you have the additional option to flip a small number of pages to shift to a harmonically related next chord pathway, or take a larger leap by turning more pages. This might sound like a bit of an abstract concept, but I explain how this works in great detail along with foundational music theory principles in the beginning chapter of the book. Next, I'm going to explore alternatives by root for the G major chord. I just turn to the page number shown in this option, or simply click or press that option to jump to the section of the book where a selection of chords that contain the root note of your current chord are located. There are about 30-ish options for each root. By the way, if you're using the digital version of the book with a compatible PDF reader, at any time you can press the top left of the page to jump back to the last page you viewed, and the top right of the page to jump all the way back to the beginning of the book. Next, I'm just updating the instrumentation in my composition to match the new notes in the updated chord progression. And that's about it. Try experimenting with other scales and moods, and be sure to dig into the included MIDI pack that has thousands of chords to choose from, all organized to match the naming used in the book. Thanks again for watching this video, and I hope the Chord Matrix leads you on many musical adventures.